Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so for most of the beginning half of this chapter, we actually catch back up with Gajil and them as they're following around Toka. Now, as soon as we get to this part, we see that Levy's not on board with following her around. She's basically using the argument that Toka's a member of Fairy Tail now, she's a member of the family, they should treat her like such, and they should actually just trust her unconditionally. Which Gajil actually comes back and says, well, I mean, when I joined Fairy Tail, you guys didn't trust me. It took me a long time to gain the level of trust I have now. Which, on the one hand, yeah, that's actually kind of true. You shouldn't. They didn't trust Gajil when he first joined, and they shouldn't trust Toka just because she's a member of Fairy Tail now. But on the other hand, Gajil, when you joined Fairy Tail, you were already pre-established as a bad guy. Like literally right before you joined, you just got in a fight with Natsu trying to kidnap Lucy. So it's kind of reason why they didn't trust you at first. But anyway, at least the argument between the two of them, Levy storms off, and we get to follow Juvia, Gajil, and Lily as they follow Toka around. And while we're going through the sequences of them following her around, you kind of get the impression that maybe she actually knows they're following her, and that's the reason why she's taking so many detours throughout the city, so she can seem not so suspicious and kind of lose her trail a little bit. Because alright, she starts off by going to Natsu's house, which we basically get to see her in her Juvia mode, kind of fangirling over Natsu and hoping that he'll come back soon to her. Then, which by the way, she mentions that she wants them to set her on fire. It's a little weird, a little masochistic, but anyway, then she goes shopping and then she heads back to seemingly at first Lucy's apartment, but then we find out that her room was actually right across the hall from Lucy's. Which, by the way, once we get to her apartment, we actually get the scene where we see Gajil and Juvia and Lily spying on Toka from her apartment window while she's getting undressed because she's about to take a bath. Now, honestly, Juvia's, Gajil's actually kind of, blushing a little bit. He's getting a little into it because, hot girl kind of stripping right in front of him. So Juvia, has to cover his eyes. The two of them fall from the window, which at first I thought they were on the first floor, but the next page when we see them on the ground, makes me think they might have been higher up. But anyway, they fall, and Gajil actually lands on top of Juvia, and it looks like they're about to kiss. And of course, this is exactly when Levy decides to show back up. Now, she walks away pissed as they're trying to explain the situation to her. And then we get a scene of her holding her stomach, which is implying that she's pregnant, or at least is reminding us of the fact that she might actually be pregnant. Because if you remember at the end of Fairy Tail, in the very last chapter, there is a moment where we actually get to see Gajil and Levy talking, or I'm not sure, actually no, it wasn't Gajil and Levy, it was actually Levy talking to, I believe, Lucy, and she mentioned something about a baby, and we get to see like Wendy in the background using her dragon hearing to hear it, blushing, and that scene was kind of implying that maybe Levy actually might be pregnant, and I guess this is basically confirming it and reminding us the fact that yeah, she actually is pregnant. And you know what? I actually really hope this is confirmation that she is pregnant, because if it is, then this just goes to more character development for Gajil. Because if you remember, during the final arc of Fairy Tail, when he thought he was going to die, he told her that his dream was about the fact that he wanted to raise a family with her. And the fact that if she is pregnant, that dream is now becoming a possibility, just goes to show how much how much his character has changed from his first introduction to where he is now. Where when we first met Gajil, you did not think he would actually be that important of a character. You did not think he'd be a fan favorite, or that he'd be the first one to basically achieve happiness out of the main crew. And now he is. He's the first one to basically succeed at his dream. Anyway, after that, we end up taking back with Natsu and them, and we end up finding out from their conversation with Merfolvia that despite the fact that he says that he wants to die or be sealed away, that he can't die just yet. And that's because basically he wants to turn the city back to normal. He wants to turn the city back into like a normal city so that at night it's no longer, underwater. And he wants to turn the people who are fish people, or kind of like a fish people hybrid, back into normal humans again. But in order to do that, he has to regain its powers. Because what we find out in the chapter is that basically over 100 years ago, he lost his abilities, or they were stolen from him by some person named the White Mage. And in order to fix everything, he has to regain them back. And then while the Fairy Tail gang are basically trying to figure out how they're going to actually help Merfolvia regain his original abilities, or find a White Mage to help him regain his powers, that's when the Dragoneer trio that we actually know so far use their Ash teleportation magic to come back in. And we actually find out they're actually kind of listening on the conversation the entire time. And basically they say, hey, well, I mean, if you no longer have your powers, I guess we'll just go have to find and eat the person who has it now, this White Mage you were talking about. And pretty much the scene is basically just set up for the fact that Natsu and his gang are going to be fighting up against these guys in the next chapter. I'm guessing it's going to be a 3-on-3. Merfolvia's probably going to help out a little bit, but since he doesn't have his original powers anymore, he's probably not going to be that much of a help in the fight. Then again, I'm guessing based off how, strong his mana was when he was first introduced to the gang, that he was still overpowered him despite the fact that he doesn't have his original abilities anymore. But still, we'll have to wait till the next chapter to find out. Then we check back in with Jalal as he continues his tour around all the major guilds we saw in the original Fairy Tail. Which, by the way, he starts off at Blue Pegasus at the very beginning of the chapter, and he has no patience for them. He literally is sitting there in the scene. He's like, well, okay, listen, just tell me what I need to know. Have you seen this person? I don't want to stay here any longer than I have to. Anyway, he actually ends up finally figuring out where Toka is. And that's because when he meets up with Kagura at the very end of the chapter, she reveals to him that when she recently went to go visit Fairy Tail, they introduced her to Toka, who actually had just joined. And when he finds this out, he's like, really? Fairy Tail again with them? Which, when I read this part of the chapter, I was like, dude, after everything you've been through with Fairy Tail, after all the experiences you've been through and them being at the center of all of them, why were they not your first stop? Anyway, after he finally figures out where Toka is, he reveals to Kagura that Toka actually is the White Mage that Markovia mentioned earlier on in the chapter, the one that stole his powers over 100 years ago. And that she's actually a dangerous mage who's been walking the earth for over 100 years now. And that's the reason why he's after her. Now, this actually kind of plays into the title of the chapter, which is called Black and White. Now, if you remember back in the original Fairy Tail, back when Urza and Wendy were fighting off against Irene mentioned the fact that at one point, there was a legend about a black and white angel who battled over a man, and in the end, the white angel won and turned the mountain that they were fighting on into snow and ice. And obviously, when Irene actually first told the story, everyone assumed that basically the black angel in her story was Zeref, but no one actually had any concrete evidence of who the white angel could be. A lot of people thought that, maybe it was just a good half of Zeref fighting off against the evil half of him, and somehow the good half of him won at that point, and that's the reason why he was walking around for 100 years, amnesic, not really killing people, just basically being like a wanderer who just wants to, be left alone. But now with the revelation that Toka actually is a white mage, and the fact that she's so obsessed with Natsu, this could be, the actual true part of the legend, where basically she was the white angel from Irene's story, and the two of them, Natsu, or Zeref and Toka, were fighting over Natsu, and she won. Which isn't that hard to believe, because we know that Zeref, he was not able to take out Acnologia. Acnologia was too strong for him to beat without Fairy Heart. And Acnologia is as strong, if not just a little bit weaker, than each of the 5 Penetrate Dragons. And since Toka was able to steal Markovia's abilities, his powers, that would put her, strength-wise, at the same level as Acnologia. So if Zeref wasn't able to beat Acnologia without Fairy Heart, that would explain why he would have lost a fight to Toka over 100 years ago when they were fighting over Natsu. Now, of course, there's no evidence to prove any of this just yet. We'll have to wait for future chapters and find out more about Toka to figure out exactly what's going on. But, we probably actually will be finding it out pretty soon, because obviously, since Toka has Markovia's abilities, we're going to have to see Natsu and him going back to Magnolia and meeting up with her and finally, getting the interaction between the two of them. So we'll finally figure out exactly what Toka wants with Natsu. Maybe she actually is in love with him like Juvie is in love with Gray, and she's been saying this entire time. Or maybe she's planning on stealing Natsu's abilities since he was the one who allegedly defeated Acnologia. We'll have to find out later on. But that's it for the chapter. That's it for the review. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.